Namaste. Welcome to the Conscious Convo podcast. I am your host and teacher, Pippa Leslie. I'm here to share everything I learn, see, and channel. This podcast is for the conscious and curious beings who are ready to dive deeper into spirituality. I am so grateful you are here. Hi guys, welcome back to the show. I'm really excited today because I have another level 3 QHHT practitioner on the show to speak to us today. Her name is Elena Blaj, and I've seen Elena on the forum. I've seen her commenting on a lot of the things that I've seen, and I've just been really intrigued to get her take on QHHT because you all know that I've started practicing it this year and I'm doing really well and I'm loving it so far. So to get someone as experienced as Elena is going to be amazing. So I'm happy to talk to you today.
Hi, Pippa. Thank you so much. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here with you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. So I'm really intrigued to find out what got you into QHHT. How did Dolores come into your life?
Well, because I asked for her help. Actually, I didn't know Dolores when I actually accidentally bumped into her. So, as I have mentioned before in some of my, interviews or what have you, I had a history with back pain for 10 years, and then that kind of attracts other symptoms or discomforts in the body, like sadness, depression, and all of that. And life is just one trial after another, and I found myself with this impairment in a way, and I was going by the traditional way, going to the doctors and all of that. And after my back surgery, I realized that nothing has changed, and this, intuition came to me: you have to change. That's there for a reason. And I said, hey, that's great. I need help, universe. Show me the way. So I learned a valuable lesson right there and then. If you need anything, you have to ask. Without asking, nothing will come your way. That's the first step. Then I asked, and I bumped into one of Dolores's videos, and I said, oh my God, who's this cute little lady, right? That's talking about aliens and planets and ascension, and what is that? So I started digging into this, listening to her YouTube videos, reading her books, and I just knew it. I just knew this is what I'm gonna have to do for the rest of my life. This is how I'm gonna be this is part of my mission, as we all have a little bit of, how do I say this? We're all contributing, we're all helping, right? So I felt like, oh my goodness, this is how I'm gonna make myself better. This is how I'm gonna heal, but I need to understand what's going on with me, right? So I was looking for a practitioner. That was in 2015 when I found her. And it was just so happened that Julia was holding a class like half an hour from where I was living at the time in LA. And I said, I'm going, this is it. I'm flying, right? So I go to the class and I felt like I was home. I felt like I was with people that I knew before. It was such a comfort, such reassurance that I'm on the right path. I didn't know what's going to happen next, but I had this little, trust in me, like something has to happen, something has to shift. I'm here for a higher reason. So, as you know, when you go to the class, actually this was level 1 or no, it was level 1. So it was at the time when we were able to do it still live, right? So I go to the class. The first day we meet, we talk. It was beautiful. Then it was a day where we trade sessions with other practitioners, right? So I had a session from my roommate, and this is what I understood the root cause of my pain, which I think is very, very important to see it, to feel it, to know it, to take responsibility for it, to understand why that happened. So I realized that I was holding a lot of sadness and anger because of certain situations in my childhood. So that little kid in me was still hurt, was still crying, was still in pain. And I didn't know for the longest time, but it was projected through my adult years, right? And I was able to forgive and let go. I was given the higher understanding of things. Why was this life designed for me the way that it was? Why did I choose those parents and that family dynamic? And what was the purpose, the lesson for me in all of this? So when you're giving that higher perspective, that different angle of things, when you're realizing that, hey, you know, I'm actually quite powerful because I manifested this in my life. So if I manifested that I made myself sick, then I can make myself better. What do I need to do? Right? So I did my homework. I listened to the session. I applied all the advices. And I found myself how I was feeling better in my body and in my mind. My back, because that was the biggest problem. After the session, my back literally started making funny noises, which I didn't know at the time, but now that I look back, I was actually physically releasing the emotions that I was holding for 20 years or so. How is that possible, right? And then I started to feel more positive. Something had shifted after my first QHHT session. And I realized if this had such a huge impact on me, then I can help others because now I know how to do it. And I believe in it because I experienced it. So that was the beginning of my QHHT journey. And in my first session, my higher self was telling me, yeah, Elena, you're going to work with so many people and you're going to do great things. And I didn't believe it. I was like, who? Little me? No. Me with clients? No. Who would have thought that I would become not only a practitioner, a hypnotist? What is that? I had no idea, right? But I said, hey, you know, something is here for a reason. I have to follow it. I have to do my best. So because I was starting to feel better, the trust in this method was very high in me. I knew it's going to work. I knew it's going to make a difference in people's life. So I started my journey and I talked to my subconscious and I said, you guys need to send me clients, because at that time when I went to my level 1, we have just moved from Texas back to California, right? So I didn't know anybody in LA. I didn't have, only my neighbors, that's all. But that didn't stop me to spread the word. So every person I would meet, I would tell them, oh my God, I'm doing this quantum healing hypnosis, and it's helping you get in touch with yourself, your inner self, and understand things and so forth, and make you align yourself with a better aspect of you. And the clients start flowing and rolling. And I was busy since the get-go, to be honest with you. So as I progressed, the session started to get a little bit harder, more challenging, but it kept me motivating because I realized, number one, I'm getting all the help that I need from Dolores and my subconscious, my guides and angels. And this is helping people because at that point, I was getting feedback. My back doesn't hurt. I'm not depressed anymore. Elena, this shifted in my life. So I feel so good after the session. So for me, that was the payback. That was the reward that life was giving me back, because I was helping, I was giving something in return to the healing that I got.
I resonate a lot with that story because I moved to New Zealand 4 months ago. And I was the same. I was like, okay, so I've done my case studies. Now I'm in a country that I just don't know anybody apart from my fiance and my 2 stepchildren. But I love making friends. I love connecting. So I just literally went out to the world and I just started to meet new people. And then it's funny, the same as what you said, like I would tell people, oh, what do you do for work? I was like, I'm a hypnosis practitioner. And then when they say it, their jaws like hit the floor. Because in New Zealand, it's not widely popular. Like it is, but it's not saturated as much. Mm-hmm. So I have been the same. I have been busy. I'm doing 3 or 4 a week because that's kind of my capacity that I want to be able to do at the moment. Because of just my situation really. And the same, I wake up and I think, so it's funny because I told Suzanne this 3 years ago, in 2019, I was in Australia and I was listening to Dolores. I just started to learn about her, and she was creeping in, in different ways. And I used to think, oh my God, I couldn't be a hypnotherapist or a hypnotist. And like, it's just must be such a hard thing to do. Oh my God, they're so brave doing this. And this is me just saying this, like what you just said. And then even to be a past life regressionist, I think, oh, how wonderful and how amazing. These people are super special. Like to be gifted like that. So I used to just listen to all these different past lives, and and Dolores kind of creeped in. I was listening to other spiritual teachers because I'd left a toxic relationship, and then I was kind of on a soul discovery journey in Australia. My listeners have heard this story many times, but basically, Dolores was creeping in, and I always ask, what are the lessons I need to learn from her? Because teachers come into your life for different reasons. And I told Suzanne this story on our episode, but I know you'll probably want to hear it. I don't know if you probably did see what she'd said about my partner channeling Dolores.
Oh, I'll have to listen to it again. Yeah.
Yeah. It just, because my partner's really spiritual and he channels a lot, especially when he's going to bed, and he goes through a door and he sits with his guides and different people come in, and I think I was asking for guidance, so I think he was the one to receive it for me. And it was in the September or the October, I think, of 2019. Last year. Was it last year? Mm-hmm. Yeah, last year, I think. And I was kind of like moving through different things and I was asking for guidance. And then my partner had woke up because we were separated from because of COVID. And he said, you won't believe what happened last night in my dream. I said, okay, because he channels before bed and then he writes it down in the morning when he wakes up. He said, well, I did my usual. I went through the doorway and my guides were there. And then there was a little old lady sat on a bench. Now, Chris had not really heard of Dolores. He'd not heard of her, but he'd not really read into a lot of her work.
Right.
So he knew bits about her, but not a lot. So he said this little old lady was sat on the bench. So I went to chat to her, and basically she told him the year she was born, the year she died, and told him to read The Convoluted Universe, book 1. So he's like, that was so precise, the message, and he'd never heard that book before. He actually had to Google it in the morning, and he's read it. But she was talking about past life regression and how it's helping the planet, and it's and then when he told me, I was like, oh, I've been looking into Dolores, and I said that she does QHHT, and I think that's a message for me. And it was just surreal, really, because I was kind of asking for it, but in my own meditation. And then my partner kind of delivers the message for me through Dolores. So that was kind of really profound. And, and when he looked up the book and the year she was born and the year she died, he had goosebumps. He was just like, what the hell? So it kind of just all made sense. So I did my level 1, and it just, I know you did it live and you're with people, but even listening to Dolores on the videos and then listening to other people with their experiences. And then obviously now I'm in the forum. I do feel at home. I do feel held. I feel like I'm in a community that we all have a similar mission, and we're all just, so whenever I'm doing a QHHT session now, I just imagine Dolores is in the corner of the room watching me. and she's just overseeing it with me, and she's helping me through it. And like I said to you before we press record, it just every client's so different, and I'm just so blessed to be able to do that. And like I said, 3 years ago, I wouldn't have thought I'd be a hypnosis practitioner today. So it's kind of like miraculous to even think, you really don't know what's on the horizon in your life.
No, but what I have learned is to just take it one day at a time and push yourself. You're gonna be surprised how much you can accomplish when you're stretching your boundaries. Yeah, and Dolores is, in a way, I mean, yeah, she's not in the physical, but gosh, she's all over. She's helping everybody. She this one time came into one of my sessions. Okay, so this was I normally don't lose my cool in the session, but that time I did, to be honest with you. So I had this couple that came, husband and wife. He came first and his session was great. And the second day, his wife, beautiful lady, she comes in and she tells me up front, Elena, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know who Dolores is. My husband sent me here, brought me here to have a session with you. I have no idea what this is all about. Right? But I have some questions. I'm like, great, let's do it. Who cares, right? So we do the session, and she ended up being what we call somnambulistic, as in she didn't remember anything. So that's very, very rare nowadays. As we talked a little bit earlier, people, they're a little bit aware, and that's totally fine, because we can actually access our guides, angels, divine self, if you may, in our awakening state right now as the veil is lifting. But so we start doing the session. I had no idea she's somnambulistic until I brought her up, and she said what happened and how long I was under. Right. So we saw beautiful past life, nothing out of the ordinary, to be honest with you. But let's say the last 10-15 minutes of the session, I hear this voice, and the voice goes, Elena, it's me, Dolores. I'm like, hi, Dolores. Really, I was so surprised, because she was very, very high strung. And I said, yeah, hi, Dolores. Elena, I have a message for you. Yeah, what's the message, Dolores? Thank you for being here. And she said, remember, we have a contract. You have to start teaching, and you have to travel, and you have to keep at it, and you have to, be the best that you can be at QHHT, because we have a contract, Elena. And that's when I understood, oh my goodness, right? All of us, practitioners and people that are feeling nudged to follow her legacy, her steps. This is all predestined. This is all arranged prior to us coming here, right? This is our mission. But I laughed so hard that day, because it was so important for me to understand that I actually do have a contract with Dolores, and the contract is to do QHHT and to just stretch my boundaries and do my best and help as many as I can. But it was very, very surreal, I would say. Very surreal when you experience something like that.
It is. It's like, it's like I said, the word you mentioned earlier about belief. It's the belief, isn't it? If you don't believe it, because one of my big spiritual teachers is Wayne Dyer, and he says you'll see it when you believe it. And it's, it's not you'll believe it when you see it. It's the opposite. So it is about belief. It's about, because that's what you say when you connect to what you believe in. It's like everyone believes differently. We see the world differently. But if we're all just doing our bit, and we're all just following our bliss, and we're following our hearts, and for me, it's just to help people. So I'm consistently learning. I'm consistently being a sponge to knowledge, to wisdom, and I can just share it with people. So I'm really interested with you, Lily, is prior to QHHT, have you always been spiritual, or is it something that's kind of got gradual?
I was, but I felt like I really grew my wings after I found Dolores. But I was always the black sheep. I was always different. But I didn't have the tools to increase that in a way, right? So when I was back in Romania, busy, got married, had a kid, then came to the States. I didn't really have the time to focus on my metaphysical studies and spiritual nature as much because life got in the way and you have a family to raise, and right, so you do other things. So but it was still in me the need to help people. This is why I was an esthetician. I done massages and all of that, right? So it was, in a way, I was still healing, but I knew there is more. I knew there is more. I didn't feel complete, people, right? And I said to the universe, before me starting to get very, very sick, I said to the universe, I feel like I'm being kept on the sidelines. I felt like I have had this knowledge in me that I didn't have anybody to share with because my family was not awakened and still not is. And I didn't have spiritual friends, and I felt like left out, right? Until I found Dolores. But in the meantime, just busy with life, raising a kid, job, and all of that, I didn't really have time to meditate, nothing like that. But when I found Dolores, everything flipped because I felt alive again. That's it. I really felt alive again. I felt like me and my purpose. Yeah.
That's kind of like how I feel. Like since being in New Zealand as well, it's kind of given me a different sense of purpose because I'm where I'm meant to be. So I remember chatting to a tarot reader, and he's pretty psychic, and he said last year, as soon as you get to New Zealand, everything's just going to explode because you've been away from your partner for so long. You've been living with your parents through COVID. So I did feel quite stagnant last year.
Yeah.
But then since being in New Zealand, I had the urge. I was like, I need to get set up. I need to get my back room set up. I need to get my hypnosis room. And I was still waiting for some boxes to arrive from the UK with some certificates in, and because I'm a Reiki healer as well. So I wanted to get all my room done. And literally from the get-go, you said something really important. This is what I say to everybody. If you don't ask, the universe does not know what to serve you. And I live in service to others. And that's one of my values from the Tao Te Ching. And I remember sat there and I'd got my spiritual corner ready and all my crystals were on there, my little ornaments and all my Disney things. And I was just sat and I just sighed. And I just said to the universe, I'm ready. I'm ready. Mm-hmm. Send me the clients in all areas for QHHT, for Reiki, for guidance, whatever. Just send them to me. Mm-hmm. And I remember it was so funny. 2 days later, I had a phone call off a lady who's in New Zealand here in Hamilton, and she offered me a job working for a health coaching company. She found my profile on Seek, because I had to update my CV for my visa and things like that. So it was obviously on Seek. So she'd found me. Part of me was like, yeah, I need to get a job to get stable and to, because my partner works, he earns quite well. So I don't really need to work financially. But I was like, okay, so I need to do my bit. I need to go and get a part-time job so I can bring in my part of them, blah, blah, blah. And she offered me this job. And then I got this sense of, a job. How amazing. Someone sought me out. How amazing is that? And then Chris was like, you don't really need that job, do you? I said, no, I don't. And then I sat with it and I thought, whoa, this is a check. This is a checkpoint for me. 2 days prior, I've asked the universe to send me clients to help. So the universe has said, well, hang on, here's a job offer. Let me see, and obviously I didn't take it, but I thought, how amazing is that happens? And I had another check last week where a lady I was chatting to, she needs help in a cafe over spring and summer because we're coming to spring now. And she said it's just doing 2 days a week. And I thought, what? It's not about the money for me. When I was just like, because I'm getting married in December. So, again, when the ego mind creeps in, it's like, well, it's that consistent, stable money and da, 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 da. I thought, well, hang on, I'm working 10 hours a week, 10 hours a day where I could be using those hours to help someone. And I'm just like, just when you sit with it and I'm thinking it's just another little check. And I just said no. I said, I'd love to help her, but it's just not my passion. And I asked myself, can I see myself in a cafe working? I want to be at home with people, helping them.
The same thing happened to me. right before I had found Dolores and I enrolled to her class, right? It was very, very short, as I said. But in that time, I was also looking at other, avenues to make an income because we just returned from Texas, right? So I found this job as an esthetician. I applied, they called me for an interview, and I did go, but I can't tell you how much my guys were screaming inside, don't go, no, that's not the way. I felt such resistance in my body. This is what I learned to listen to my body, because my body actually was the guidance from the higher self telling me, right? So I felt very, very uneasy, but I still went. So I went to the interview. The lady loved me. She said, okay, you're starting tomorrow, yada, yada, you're doing great, right? So I come home and I got very sick, like literally very nauseated. So I said, hang on, this is a message. This is a message. I need to cool down here and then don't jump the horse, right? So at night because that's when I meditate and I get a lot of insights and messages, so forth. I felt such a strong pulse not to do that. I felt like that's not my way. It doesn't feel right. And I'm glad that I did. I'm glad that I did, because I always say, if you're aware of the way that you feel about certain things, you can take the right decision. But you have to be in tune and in touch with your body. You have to stop and listen. This is something that the subconscious says in sessions all the time. They're not listening to us. That's why they're straying off. They're not listening to that intuition, to that guidance, system that we all have. Right?
Yeah, and I think that's why so many people get sick when they're not happy in their careers. And I hear people all the time, it's not about just getting up and leaving your 9 to 5 job because I know you've got to support your family and you've got bills to pay. It's part of making the living, but there's something you can do about it. There's something you can change. You're one step away from a completely different life. And it sounds so cliche, like you've heard all this before, but it really is. It was literally to a point of, I created this life in New Zealand with my partner. And that was over an instant shift because of COVID and him not wanting to stay in America. Everything just completely shifted, and we just said, right, we're going to make a life in New Zealand. And it's literally more than I ever imagined. And it always is. All the things you want to manifest into your life, you got to believe that they're out there. You got to believe that you're worthy of them. And you got to believe that they will probably be better than you ever imagined, because they end up being better than you imagined.
Because we're master creators, and whatever we believe in, we manifest, right? And we have to be aware whatever we put out there into the universe, whatever we want to create, because it can go both ways. Right?
Yeah. That's why people make themselves sick. Like if you feel stressed and sick all the time, and you just feel down and fatigue, your body is literally doing everything it can to say, listen to me, listen to what I have to say, and that's why people have burnout, because they're just not stopping and smelling the roses. And I know how it feels, because I've been there before, where you're on autopilot. You don't stop to connect, to go within. People ask that a lot of me. They say, how do you do it? How do you connect? How do you go within? It's like they need the instruction manual for it. Because again, it's the control over the perfectionism.
Right. But we're all functioning so differently. So my way is not necessarily your way. So the best way, and again, I'm referring to the subconscious and the beautiful wisdom that's coming from the sessions, right? The best way is to calm the mind, to stop, literally to stop what you're doing and take 5, 10, 15 minutes a day for yourself. Everybody can do that. But are we willing to do that? Are we willing to listen? Sometimes I have clients and they're coming, and the biggest fear, Pipa, is, what if I'm going to hear something bad? Yeah. That never happens. Because we all play in our incarnation. We all play the villains and the perpetrators, and the subconscious is not going to give you more than you can handle anyway, right? But they will help you understand how to shift your reality. Yeah.
I'm intrigued to ask you. I asked this to Suzanne and she was like, oh my God. Do you have any clients that stick out that you were just wowed by? I know you probably got loads, but is there any like that stick out for you?
I just have one actually last week.
Yeah.
Amazing. So I actually have I made some notes. I had a feeling you're going to ask me that. Okay. So I made some notes. I'm going to tell you a very short one and then a little bit of a longer one, but not that long. So, this man comes in and he has a lot of anger. And he said, Elena, I am angry and I don't know how to, heal myself from this. What's this all about? And I said, well, have you always felt angry? He says, yeah, since I was a kid. Okay, great. So as we were talking about his life at the time that he chose to go to army, right? He wanted to go and blow stuff up. He said, I needed to go into army to blow stuff up. And I said, fine, whatever. Let's see what's going to happen in the session, right? So we go in the session. The timing of the session was in 1940s in Chicago. And he was a very proeminent man that was ruling, I don't know how to say it, a factory. They had a factory where they were making weapons, right? Him and his partner. His partner was very nice, very kind to the people, very giving. The subconscious said the partner was the light and my client was the darkness in that dynamic, right? He was not very nice with people. He was abusive, he was greedy, and so forth. So what they did, somewhat planted bombs and the factory exploded, right? So as I was walking him through that experience, the way that he died, I didn't know that he lost his life. So when the explosion came, he saw flashes, whatever. And I said, do you still have a physical body? And he said, yeah, I can feel my body. Where is your partner? Oh, I don't see him anymore. Great. But as we progressed, he realized, I said, how are you feeling? And he said, I feel good. I feel at peace. I feel happy. And that's when I knew he wasn't in the same state of mind as before. So it was the clue for me, oh my God, he did pass, right? So we understood when I moved into the subconscious said, this life is about him paying back that karma. As a matter of fact, right now in this life, he's going through some legal issues. So he has this huge company that his brother left him, brother's passed. But the lawsuit doesn't seem to go anywhere. It's very stagnant. And I asked the subconscious, what's going on here? When is the lawsuit going to be okay? So he can start collecting money again and having, beautiful life for his family, right? And the subconscious said, when he's going to learn not to be in greed and when he's going to learn to function from the heart and to give to people, that's when the lawsuit will stop, because he needs to learn to let go of the greed. He needs to shift. He's here to pay whatever to pay. Pay sounds very, very harsh, just to balance the energy of the previous life, right? So we understood that this mission, this life was all about finding his way back to himself, tapping into the spiritual side of things, right? Another thing that happened in that life that I thought that's very, very interesting is his wife passed away of cancer, and it was the same wife, if I'm not mistaken, as the one in this life, right? And he wanted a boy for the longest time, right? Mind you, he has 5 girls because they kept trying because he was expecting for his boy to come. Now, what happened in that past life, his wife died of cancer and he was left alone to raise the boy. Mind you, he had help and maids and all of that. But when when we first started the session, I'm going all over the place, I'm sorry, but when we first started the session, he started crying like, oh my God, my boy, I was waiting for you. I reckon you. I missed you. I have never seen a man crying so hard by realizing how a past life can actually influence in this one. Yeah.
That's amazing.
So that was, yeah, that was, he has some homework to do. This is why I always say, okay, the session is done. We were able to uncover and to understand more about this life situation, but it's in your hands. What do you want to do with it? Do you want to apply and shift, or do you want to stay the same?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that was the short version. Now, I had another client, and this is a couple actually that's coming from Texas once a year for sessions, right? So he's very spiritual at this point. He's an army guy, very, very strong man. Now, the session that we did last year, he said, Elena, you have to read the Emerald Tablets, Thoth, the Atlantean teachings, right, of Thoth. And I said, fine, I'll get a book. I'll try to read it. I got the book. I wasn't able to read it. My mind would go places. It's like, okay, I'm not ready. Great. So we start the session, and he sees himself floating in space in a pod. He was getting healing right from the get-go, right? Now, as he was getting healing, this deep voice started to come over and answer questions in the third persons. So I thought, I knew in a way, okay, now we have the subconscious and so forth, right? And the subconscious started talking to us how they're monitoring his body, how there are ships all over. There are ships watching all the light workers and all the spiritual people, the volunteers, as Dolores Cannon talked about, and we're all getting monitored, right, into how to become better at this, and we're having a lot of help, right? But what I thought is very, very interesting is with this guy, they are taking him at night, bringing him on the ship, and they're doing reading on his brain, right? So they're putting him in certain circumstances. He goes a lot in Kuwait and to what is very, very hot and very crazy, right? So they're putting him in extreme situations because they want to know how the human body functions. This is related to the ascension right now. Because if you're thinking about it, going through ascension, the body's changing. How does the body change? It's a lot of heat coming up all the time, right? So through him, they're learning how the body operates. And there is like a network that's going on from ship to ship. They're passing information to help us here down to earth. Never heard that one before. I was like, oh my God, awesome, right? So so they're watching him, okay? And they're how do I say this? Sometimes they're taking our bodies into the ship, and sometimes they're working on the energetic body. It really depends what we need at the time, okay? Yeah. Now with this guy, he's an army guy. He needed the shot, right? And he had to do it last year, right? He can listen to his guides, and the guide said, do it on the right side of the body, not on the right arm, not on the left arm. And I said, why? Right? And I asked subconscious, or the being that I was talking to, why? And they said, because the right side of the body is more, with him, it was a little bit more thicker, and the serum wouldn't spread. And he was told to take some Benadryl right after to stop it, to stop the, how do you say that? To spread, right, in the body. Yeah. So that's what he did. And I asked the subconscious, hey, is he okay? And they're like, oh, we cleared it right there and then. Don't even stress over that. Right. So that made me think, in a way, are we making a bigger fuss about this in a way? Right. Mm-hmm. After this, I felt this, his voice, the energy in the session changed again. And it was very, very deep. I was talking to this deep voice. And I saw, how do I explain this? I saw in my mind's eye a sphere of light with two arms coming out of the sphere of light. So I had, because this guy it was all about, you have to find thought in your life. You have to read the emerald tablets. And I had a strong feeling I was talking to thought in the session, right? And then I asked, hey, are you two related? What's your relationship with the guy on the bed? And the subconscious, this being, shifted his head. He was looking more towards the wall at that time. He lifted his hand and he was like facing me, eyes still closed. And I startled him. He said, how did you know this? Yes, we are connected, but you're not supposed to know that, right? And I said, but I just saw it in my mind's eye. That's what I'm asking you. I know you two are connected, right? And he said, yes, I am thought, but he carries my energy signature. He's not me. He's like me, right? And I said, okay, that's kind of awesome. Thank you for being here today, right? He said that my client had to go to Egypt and I have to go with him, right? Mind you, I wanted to go to Egypt, in Egypt with Suzanne. They're just
Me too.
Yeah, I just didn't get to sign up. It was too late for me. Something was happening and it kept me locked. And I said, it's not meant to be. I know it. So I'm supposed to go to this guy. Now, this guy, he said, the subconscious said, Elena, look at his palm. You're gonna see a pyramid. And I looked at his palm and he had this pyramid on his palm, and you could see the cap where the golden caps are, right? And the subconscious said, well, he has a pyramid and he has also a fork in his palm. Well, when he goes to Egypt, he needs to go into the big pyramid and touch the wall, I think to the north, they said. And while he's touching the wall, I'm gonna be there, I'm gonna infuse him with the knowledge that I know. Right? And I thought, like, oh my God, that's awesome. Right? I want to go now. What else do I want to tell him? And he said that we need, so the emerald tablets are actually the vibration when you're listening to that, to the story that's infused in there, the vibration will help us with the ascension. It will help us align with the incoming energy. So I'm doing it, I'm listening, I'm able to listen to that, beautiful story right now. And I feel a shift in my body. Every time I'm listening, my body vibrates. Mm-hmm. So I know it's true. Mm-hmm. I know we're getting so much help right now from them.
I'm quite happy and grateful that you bring Egypt up, because I am a worthy Ankh. So I'm
okay, there you go.
I'm huge for Egyptian history and I've always been really drawn to Egypt. And it was quite interesting because when I had my first QHHT session with another practitioner, I was adamant. And it's funny how Suzanne said she was like, I'm going to be a princess in my lives, and she actually wasn't. I know I have past lives in Egypt. That's not the point. What I just was adamant that they would take me to the pyramids, they would take me to Giza, they would take me to, Ashwan, they would take me to Alexandria, wherever in Egypt. I just knew that I'd come down off the cloud and I'd be on the desert. And I didn't go there that day. And I wasn't meant to. I was clearly meant to go to the ones that I saw, but I'm like, I've reached out to a practitioner who's here, not far from me. And I'm like, can we just switch sessions, please? I really want, I'm saying to my subconscious, can you just take me to an Egyptian life? Because one of Suzanne's clients that I listen to on her YouTube, they gone to Egypt and I'm just sat there and I'm like, oh my God, this is just wonderful. And I've always had a pull to Egypt. And when Suzanne posted it, I didn't get in on time, but it also doesn't really, the dates didn't line up with when I could go. But I'm just feeling that huge pull there. I just, and then you just mentioned Egypt. So I'm like, it's everywhere. It's because obviously I'm thinking about it all the time, but it literally, the signs are everywhere at the moment. I'm actually studying Sekhem Reiki at the moment, which comes from the goddess Sekhmet. Yeah, so
Wow. Yeah. Wow.
I'm studying because I'm a Reiki master and I do a Sui Reiki and angelic Reiki. And just quickly, a couple of weeks, about 2 weeks ago, I was sat at the lake and I was just meditating and I said, okay, where do I need to go next? Because guides, I'm consistently looking to learn, to study. I'm clearly on to the next thing. And the guide said, do your level 2, keep working on your level 2, chip away at your level 2. But then they were showing me Sekhmet and I was like, is that Isis? Because I always get confused of who's who. And I thought, is that Bassett? And I was like, oh, who is it? And then she said, Sekhmet with the, and I was like, oh, why are you here? And she said, you need to learn my ways. And I said, ways? What do you mean? I was like really confused. And she said, you are a healer. You facilitate healing. And she said, you are, you have the Reiki energy. And she said, but Reiki is the word that they've used in Japan, and it's the modern word. And I actually thought that. I said, I've never thought about how the Egyptians healed. Like I know they were connected. I knew they had different modalities that they used, but I never asked the question, how did the Egyptians do energy healing? And it was through Reiki, just universal life force energy, just in their way. So they would use Sekhem, which was healing. That's their word. And I was like, oh my. And then Sekhmet said, you need to go and study Sekhem Reiki. And I was like, okay. So I Googled it when I got home and I signed straight up. And I'm doing it right now.
How do you like it?
It's just, when I'm listening to it, I feel like I already know it.
Yes.
So when I'm listening to it, and I'm getting goosebumps, when I'm listening to the videos and she's talking about the different goddesses, the connections, the heart, the body, the mental, similar to Reiki, the way we're taught it in Asui and angelic, she's talking about the different, like the Ba, Ra, all these different, I'm just like, yeah. It's just like I already know.
Resonates. When something resonates, that means it's an aspect of us that's getting awakened. This is how I see it. With hypnosis, as we talked about, who would have thought that I'm gonna we don't really hypnotize, it's self-hypnosis, guys. But I'm gonna be doing this. But in one of my other QHHT sessions, right? I saw myself doing exactly this in a past life with many clients. And I said, oh my God, no wonder. Now this makes completely sense, because I have people asking me, so did you go to school a lot? And I said, no, just Dolores, that's it, right? But you wonder, where do you have this knowledge? Where do you have the confidence? How do you know what questions to ask and how to work with a client? This has to come from someplace else, right? Yeah. So it's amazing to find out how many gifts and how many traits and we're bringing here with us in this incarnation, just to help at this time.
It's like when you want to help people, you just want to soak up how many modalities you can to help them in, and have a toolbox of just like, here's my toolbox, I'm opening my toolbox and I want to use this. And I think that's what I want to be able to, to be able to do for clients, is just, you have your main modalities like your hypnosis, but it's, for me, I want to be able to, I'm trying to create this day with Pippa where people come in one-on-one and they spend the day with me. So we'll do a QHHT, we'll do a Reiki healing, it's going to be a really long, deep, I've got other things I want to do with them, like meeting the guides, Reiki healing, doing Sekhem Reiki, connecting to them, or do some sound healing, just like a healing day, like a retreat day with me. And that's kind of like being able to just say, I've got all these modalities and I can use them. And that's where I'm just feel honored to be able to do that for someone.
Yeah. And I think it's important, and I applaud you for doing this, because not everybody is ready for hypnosis. Not everybody understands, or they have the will to do it. And if we can find gentler, softer approaches, then we can simply open them up for later on whenever they will be ready for it. Yeah. um Same thing with QHHT sessions. I have clients sometimes, and they would like to come back, and they're coming back because they loved it so much they want to explore some more. So it really depends on the level that we all are, because we're all the same. It's really based on when did we choose to wake up, did we finish the missions or the lessons that we had to finish until this now moment, so we can become healers, practitioners, what have you. Yeah, it's a beautiful design of life, and it's just so rewarding when you understand the higher picture.
Yeah,
Thank you.
definitely.
We'll do that for you.
So, Lily, I could talk to you for hours, but I just want to ask you some final questions because it's just gone so quick. I'm looking at the time and I'm like, wow, it's like a hypnosis session. It's like, wow, I've been under for what, 2 hours? It feels like 15 minutes. I obviously all my listeners know I ask these questions at the end of an interview. So my first question is, if you had a magic wand, how would you use it to save our world?
To save the world. Oh, okay. So, you know what I would do? I would actually connect people's hearts,
Okay.
because I was given this picture in a meditation, and I think the more we're connecting, the more we're speaking from the heart, the more we leave the ego aside, the better we can serve the planet.
Yeah, I love
Yeah,
that.
it's
It's
about
like,
unity. Unity. That's it.
and love and connection and peace and yeah, connecting hearts is great. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Second question is, what are 3 things people can do right now to raise their consciousness?
Um, I think people need to find their joy to begin with. Once you're finding your joy, you're shifting your frequency, your vibration, you feel better, right? So find your joy. Look and the second one will be honest with yourself. Stop lying to yourself. We all have aspects of our lives that we're putting in the corner, in the shadow. So the more we're facing our shadow work, right?
Yeah.
Again, the better humans we can become, So joy, face your fears, really. And number 3, understand that this is a short journey. Life, in a way, is short, right? And make the best of every day. Like, try to live to the fullest. This is something that I understood in a way recently. It doesn't matter if you're spiritual or non-spiritual, if you're awakened or not awakened. Be you. Have fun. Stand tall. Right? We're here to experience all sides of our life, all corners, everything. Why not? Because it can be a lot of fun, right?
I love those. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone's answers are just different. That's why I love asking the questions. The third and final question, which was a surprise for you, is if you had the whole planet with your attention, if you could speak to the whole planet right now, what would you say to everyone?
With all the people or
all the people? If you had the whole planet, the attention was on you and you're on a stage, what would you say to them all?
Oh, keep pushing. We got this. We can do it.
Yeah.
Don't give up. We're so close. We're almost there. That's what I would say. I would say to have patience and trust, trust that we're never alone. Trust that we're here for a higher mission. Trust that we have all the tools and the gift that we need to complete and fulfill, what we're here to do. Yeah. So keep going. That's what I would say. Keep going. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, I love those answers. So yeah, I could literally talk to you for hours, Lily. Like every person I speak to, I wish we could just do long 4-hour interviews because I think they would be so good. I will put all of your links in the show notes so people can find you and check you out on your website. And if anyone's local in California, they can come and see you for a session. I'm sure they would love to. Is there any final messages you want to share with the audience today?
I would say that the more we're finding our inner truth, the more we're doing the homework in a way, the more that we're taking responsibility for what's happening in our life, realizing that we put it there to learn a lesson and to become better humans or better beings, the easier this journey will be. So it's really about, I'm really stressing about the inner work. I'm really stressing into discovering oneself and strive to become a better version of you, because we're all gonna be happier, right? So yeah, just tap inside and find your truth. That's what I will end with. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. That's a great way to end the episode. So I hope everyone has enjoyed listening to us chat. And if any of you have any questions or you want to reach out to any of us, please do. And as always, please leave a 5-star review and share this with your friends and your family. And again, I'm sending all the love out to all of you, and I will speak to you all soon. Bye, guys.
Bye.